Good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is Joe Scarice at the Creative Birth Strategies House and podcast here every Saturday morning, 8 a.m., and every Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m., providing education, networking, and creating strategy and opportunities for everyone. In today's discussion, we'll be discussing demystifying the appraisal process, the valuation process. We try to tackle educational subjects that are going to make a difference in your real estate quest as a real estate professional, investor, service. I want to thank first, always, I want to set myself up here first. Give me a few minutes. I got to settle everything up here. My thumbs don't work that quick this morning. So don't hold it against me. So just take a quick minute here. Here, get this started here. And I want to thank first our sponsors, of course. I'd love to thank Perkatech, Yordell Perkins, our social media strategist, and also I call him our Oz behind the drape when it comes to social media, media marketing for us. He's been a partner and associate of mine for now over 10 years. We met actually at a networking event I once held every Friday in Philadelphia, and we've stayed in alliance for several years. We've worked together on so many different ventures. We have so many things that we're working on right now as we speak. I'd like to thank Realty 411, which is our national publication that we affiliate with that provides national content as well as events throughout the country. I'd like to thank also MB Capital, our unsecured business line of credit referral program that provides unsecured business lines for real estate professionals nationwide. And then Lendmark Capital, where I am a senior loan analyst, where I provide asset-based lending in the DSCR space, 1 unit through 25 unit, blanket loans, fixed to rent, fixed to flip, DSCR, new construction, strategy, insight. We also look at mixed use as well. And we've been around since 2017. We're a hedge fund. We also offer correspondent and broker relationships. So you could actually white label market with us and partner with us with our money with you and for your clients. And I also like to make an announcement. I don't know if I said it last time. I put my licenses with TCS Property Management Services based out of Philadelphia. My licenses are in New Jersey and PA, but we have a referral program and joint venture program with anybody interested in property management throughout the country. We're present in about 13 markets right now, part of the Gold Ollier Group. I thought that was a pretty smart move, hanging out with some really smart people in the property management space. It's pretty neutralized because I'm not really handling sales. I'm pretty much a referral partner to create those relationships. So if anybody has any questions in regards to property management or joint venture in the property management space, you have a brokerage, please let me know, and I could definitely make the proper introductions. So interesting week. Obviously rates have been stayed right where we want to be at around 7%. They closed out on Friday evening about 7.01, the base rate. And I don't really see a hell of a lot of things going on with the rate right now. I think, we're gonna play this all out right to the presidential election. Maybe the Fed will do a slight drop by an eighth on the rate, but I can't really see it with inflation, commercial issues on the office retail space. There's a lot of moving parts right now that the Fed really has to stay still to see if they can get inflation under control. I mean, not for nothing, the government created it, so it's not our fault. But again, I think we're going to be seeing that 7% rate for quite a while. And to me, that's a great rate. You just got to buy smart. You got to buy better. You got to underwrite better. So you really need to take a moment to think about how you're buying and what you're buying to justify cash flow or flipping or whatever you really plan on doing with the real estate holdings, or how you're advising your clients. So interesting article that I saw, one of a couple, which I do post on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and all those sites. So if you're not following me, please do so. Interesting comparative on rental market between 2023 and 2024. More renters are choosing to renew their leases at the start of the moving season. U.S. rental market competitivity at the start of the rental season 2024. In 2023, renters competing for vacant apartments were 9. In 24, 8. Average number of days rentals were vacant. In 23, 43. 24, it was 46. Available apartments were built, 61% dead even. Renters renewed their leases in 23 was only 59%. In 24, 62%. And apartments were occupied, 94% in 23, in 24, 93.3%. So it was a very stagnant rental market between 23 and 24. You're starting to see this in you're starting to see this as a decrease in values and a decrease in the rental DSCR market values when you're seeing appraisals coming back. I'm seeing more of that over the last quarter than the previous several. And my concern is, and we'll talk about this a little bit today, of course, is if there's not enough sold and settled from home ownership buying combined with investor buying, where are you drawing the comparatives of value for your properties to come up with your after repair value? Now let's go over that again. You're renovating a property, you're trying to enhance the value, and you want to get a new value so you could refinance your construction renovation loan, satisfy that loan, maybe take some money out, maybe break even, and then rent the property based on the current rental market conditions. If your rental market is flatline and home affordable housing and market rent become relevant, and you don't have as many sold and settled, where are they getting the comps to identify your new enhanced value? You really need to define your objectives when now ordering that appraisal. You got to do some due diligence here. You have to research your local market trends. Like, where are the trends going? Is the urban city settings doing well? Are they more of a rental market? Is the suburban settings increasing in value? They're staying steady. You need to gather accurate property information, and then also analyze comparable sales data. And is too much renovation to a property good? Over renovation on a rental, is that smart? Or is it smarter to take protective measures to have a better long-term turnover of conditions to the property by doing certain things to the properties? Meaning, instead of carpets, doing hardwood floors. Instead of doing laminate countertops, doing granite or marble countertops. Backsplash everything. Protecting your walls with Lawn around the common area maintenance areas where you're not getting a lot of damage, where you're not having to redo the property completely when turning over a tenant. You have to define your appraisal objectives when you're trying to come up with a value. When I talk to a client today, hey, what do you think your after repair value is? It's somewhere between 250 and 300,000. You just can't be there with that. You need to be more comfortable with a number. The lender is just basing all their numbers off of what you're coming up with. So I said, well, where did you get this $50,000 variable? Well, it all depends. I mean, what do you mean depends? Is the property worth 250 or is the property worth 300,000? I mean, you need to know this. You're putting $50,000 into a property. You're buying it for X dollars. You're expecting it to be worth this other number. How do you not know this number by now? Why am I the person stuck with the concern of your value? Also, know your rental market. Like, how do you not know what Section 8 is going for and with your rental property? Why am I doing all the research? Why is it a big surprise when you get the appraisal back and you're off by 30 grand on your value and you're off by $500 or $300 on your rental market value? Why is that happening? because you're not researching the local market trends. You're not gathering the right accurate property information on what you need to do to that property to justify value and to justify debt service coverage ratio. You also have to analyze the comparable sales in the data that in that market. I have a client right now, he's actually creating his own values in his market. He's two of the three sales on every one of his appraisals. I mean, I don't know if that's good or bad long term. If he's got to keep buying to justify those values. And he also, you have to consider the property conditions and the amenities to enhance these values. What is going to separate you from a tenant to go with a multifamily apartment living to go to your single family home? Why would they want to rent from you when they can't get free coffee and the pool and the pet garden and all these other little bells and whistles? What is going to separate you to justify your rent and your value next to the institutional buyers that are putting up these build to rents and mini apartment complexes leveraging in malls and converting apartment office retail buildings? How are you going to evaluate and come up with the type of amenities and property condition that you need to offer to your tenant? You also have to be able to understand and evaluate your neighborhood and location factors. Transportation, transportation, and transportation. Less people want to drive, more people are hybrid, and they want convenience to retail. They want lights and people. That brings the renters to your area. You have to also assess property size and layout. You have to examine your property improvements and updates. Does it make sense? And of course, you have to review all zoning and land use regulations. Consider economic and industry factors. What is going on in your market? Who's coming in and who's leaving? Are the migration reports justifying the rents that you're coming up with and the type of renovation that you want to consider? Utilizing appropriate appraisal methods to come up with an understanding of what the sales approach is and what your market approach. Replacement approach, I really don't think you really need to have that, need that. Then you obviously have to document all your findings and calculations from the debt service perspective, because whatever leverage of debt you're going to be allowed based on the after repair value, does that property make money? What is the cash on cash return? What is the income and expense ratio? Do both make sense? I highly suggest to be present at all your appraisals. I don't understand why people don't feel like they need to be present walking through the property with the appraiser. Not saying they're going to create any type of problems, but you should at least hear and listen to what they think about your property. And stay updated on the industry regulations and best practices. There's a lot of great articles out there on appraising and understanding how an appraiser looks at properties. There's actually Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups that I belong to, and I'll read articles and connect with appraisers. I was just on a call this morning with an appraiser. We were on a Zoom call. But again, defining your objectives, researching the local market, gathering accurate information, analyzing data, considering property condition, and documenting your findings. Very important processes to the valuation process of a property. Bob, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning, demystifying the appraisal process, the valuation process of real estate.
Hey, good morning, Joe. Excuse me. Good morning, Joe. My name's Bob. I help people set up corporations and LLCs. I used to be an engineer, a civil engineer before that. Not here to give legal or tax advice, as I'm not a lawyer. Basically, I admit this is an area I'm just not all that familiar with appraisals and whatnot, because it's not a situation I've ever really had to go through. But what I will say to Joe, I'm going to reaffirm what Joe just said, because when I worked as an engineer and I did a lot of site planning in northern Delaware, the one thing that I noticed, whether I was dealing with a high density residential site or was dealing with the commercial site, a lot of stuff I did was more on the commercial side or high density residential side. Every single time there was any type of engineer on site, if there was some type of appraisal, if there was some type of anything, the property owners were physically present and walking the property, sometimes even with their lawyers, depending on what was going on. They never missed these things, and there's a reason. You want to know exactly what they're thinking, what they see as problems, because what's going to happen then when you don't do that, you're going to get a punch list. If you're lucky enough to even get a punch list, sometimes you just get a number or just a final result. You want to know where they're seeing problems, because if it's something that maybe is fixable, that you can spend a few dollars on and bump that appraisal up on a reevaluation even a couple weeks or a couple months down the road, you could be talking about a 5-figure change. You could be talking about a 4-figure repair for a 5-figure increase in value. I mean, I was seeing things that were more in the millions based on what we were dealing with, but nonetheless, it still scales if you're talking about a single property. There were a couple of situations where properties were built, and unfortunately, I had to be out there because even though I wasn't the engineer, I was the guy signing off on the site plans. When they would build a home and there would be a little surprise with it, it would then maybe there was something wrong with the property. It was sinking into the ground or something like that. Of course, we had to go out and talk to them about it because it messed up the value on it. Somebody just spent $400,000 on a house that the foundation's got an issue. Was that the engineer's fault? Was that the contractor's fault? Should the county have not allowed a permit for that area because they didn't do the proper environmental study before they signed off on authorizing the development? I mean, all these factors matter. So don't ever miss an appointment like that. If somebody is putting a value on your property, and furthermore, let's be honest, you don't want someone wandering around your property without you there or someone you trust there paying attention to every move they make. Because, let's face it, sometimes there's some dishonest people in this world. With that being said, Joe, I throw the mic back to you.
Thank you, Bob. And you brought up a really good point, and I can't emphasize this enough. Okay. I have offered this worksheet 1,000 times, if not 1,001. Okay. Take advantage of the rehab construction budget checklist. So when you're doing a BRRRR, okay, we're obviously in the creative BRRRR strategy house, okay, and podcast. So most of us here are looking to buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and redo. Don't you think you should document all the renovations and enhancements that you've done to the property inside and outside, mechanically, and provide that information in a nice, neat folder to your appraiser to say, hey, listen, Mr. or Mrs. Appraiser, here's what I put into the property over the last 3 to 4 months prior to the lease, prior to renting this property to a new tenant. I did this, this, and this. I spent this, this, and this on this property. Do you know how many investors don't do that? Why wouldn't you want to show and highlight what you've done? Don't worry about telling them what you think the value of the property is. That's their job. That's not your job. Your job is to renovate the property and to be a better investor, right? So to be the better investor and not to be a cocky investor, you need to be smart about this. You need to break down what you've done to the property, the cost of what it took to get it to completion, and have that in a nice, neat booklet to hand to the appraiser. Said, this is what I bought it for. Here's my HUD. If you want to get a little crazy with it, you show them what you bought it for. Here's what I've done in renovation and enhancements and completion. These are the costs that it costed me, my receipts. If you have any questions, please let me know. Here's the new heater I put in, the new electric I put in, the new plumbing and the HVAC, the new roof, the new landscape, the new foundation. I resurfaced the basement. I enclosed the basement. I added a half bathroom, and this is what it costed me. Here's all the flooring that I spent, all the paint that I spent on the property. It's costing me $42,500. Here you go, sir. Here you go, ma'am. Let me know if you have any questions and based on the renovations I've provided. Who has done that for one of their appraisals? Please let me know if you've done that. And if you haven't done your job as a real estate professional. And as a real estate agent, you should be advising your investors to do this. Don't worry about bringing comps. The appraiser knows what the values are in the area if they're from the area. Hopefully, you get an appraiser that's not from 100 miles away. That doesn't typically happen anymore. It used to happen much more often. But why aren't you highlighting the finishes to the property and what you've spent to the property? Don't try to jam down what your opinion of the value is. When you call up a lender, you don't even know what your value of your property is anyway. Oh, it's worth between 250 and 300. How do you even say that? That's not even with any type of certainty. I have these conversations 40 times a week. Okay. I've never seen people not know, seen so many people that don't know the value of their home. How do you not know the value of your property? You're the real estate investor. I'm the lender. You're basing everything on me to make up a number for you. I don't even know where the property is. Why would you do that? And why would you go to an appraisal without providing all the renovations that you've done to the property? Like, why would you miss that? That's a massive miss. Travis, good morning. Welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to demystifying the appraisal process in real estate.
Hey, Joe. Yeah, I'm Travis. I have a real estate brokerage here in the Houston market. Yeah, man, I've gone round and round with appraisals many times, and I've done what you're talking about. I've made the list of the improvements that we've done to the property for my clients, and given it to the appraiser. I've given them the comps in the area because I'm a broker. I know what they are. I kind of try to make their job easy, but I can tell you, they, it really depends on who you get for an appraiser. And if their value comes in low and you try to fight it, good luck with that. That's like, my gosh, I've never seen anybody be successful in fighting the appraised value. You can ask them to go back and reanalyze it. Like, I've given you all the comps, I've given you what we've done to the house. How do you even know that the house that you're comparing it to was even done the way that we did this one? Like, we replaced all the cabinets, we did all the bathrooms, we re-insulated the house, we did all the AC, we did the roof, we did windows. How do you know that the other house that you're using as a comp had all that done? Did you go in it? No, of course they couldn't go in it, right? Do they call the listing agent to ask them, hey, did you guys do all this stuff to that property? Sometimes I get calls from appraisers asking me those kind of questions, but those are the good appraisers, right? So really, it depends on who you're getting. I was hoping that maybe you had some insight into how we can be better at getting the appraisal that we should get instead of what we're getting.
So how I can answer that, Travis, and listen, we've both been in the industry a long time. We've obviously had some failed appraisals in our world, right? I feel that handing the comps to the appraiser doesn't help as much as the renovations of the before and after of the property, the subject property, because at the end of the day, the appraiser is subject to the AMC that assigned them. So your person that you need to dispute with is not the appraiser, it's with the AMC that would assign that appraiser. So if the AMC that oversees that appraiser and the appraisal, if you send them the justifications of renovations and what was spent and the before and after pictures, they can bypass the actual appraiser and change the value with the dispute. It's not you're not disputing the appraiser, you're disputing the appraisal with the AMC. Does that make sense?
guess if they give you access to whoever that is.
Yeah, well, whoever you're working with from a lending perspective, they must. Now, I'm not allowed to talk to the appraiser, but I'm allowed to talk to the AMC, and I do a lot of, refinance DSCR loans coming out of fixed to rents. And I try to educate my borrower saying, listen, do you have before and after pictures? Do you have the construction scope of work that was completed? Do you have all the receipts? I need it all sent in JPEG, or PDF, and I need to send all this in a nice, neat package to the AMC because, we're off by 20 grand here, 30 grand. This is a big difference. You added a bathroom, a full bathroom. Now you're a 2-bathroom, 3-bed. You're not a 3-1. You finished the basement, even though we can't recognize that square footage. It's completed. It's got a laundry room where it didn't have the laundry room before. You have brand new heating. You have brand new electric. You have everything spent on the HVAC. You didn't have. You had air conditioning there. Now you have AC. You have central air. There's some major differences here. You have a new roof with a warranty signed by the roofing company. So there's things that the AMC will pick up that you can justify, and they will go at it with the appraiser to change the value. I've seen that. Now, this is my more savvier investor that's doing this, but that's probably the best suggestion I can make. I'm not going to make an advice on that, but I think the way that you dispute is not to go at them based on the value. You go at them based on the renovations and completed work that was done to the property. And I think that would justify the enhanced value. Again, I've been wrong many times, and I'll be wrong many more times before my life is over. But that's what I think is the best way of attacking this. So that's some additional thoughts. I don't know if you want to counter that at all.
No, I don't want to counter that. That's good information, Joe. I didn't know that we were able to do that because I've gone round and round with the lenders, and they have never mentioned that, hey, we can send this to the AMC. So that's good information.
Thank you, Travis. Hang on one second. I just got to fix something here real quick. Cool. So again, when it comes to the appraisal process, there's an AMC that protects you with the appraiser. It's not just you're just not at the mercy of a good or bad appraiser. You have to have the AMC order the appraisal through your lending company, whoever you're doing the loan through. Ed, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning, demystifying the appraisal process.
Morning, Joe. My name's Ed. I'm a preferred partner with MB Capital right now. And you have good appraisers and bad appraisers. When I was actively selling real estate, I would have appraisers call me about one of my listings and ask for details over stuff they couldn't get from the MLS. They would call you and say, you sold this property over here, appraising this property, and they would want, some information about it, And before 2008, when you use the same lender, you always know who your appraiser was. You can talk to the appraiser, but as now that's illegal. You can't really talk to the appraiser.
Well, this is and you and I have had conversations about this in regards to people think that they could just order, I could talk to the appraiser. I got people, can't you pick this appraiser? No,
Yeah.
It goes on a bidding system. If the AMC uses a panel, they go to very selected appraisers in that market, or they also do an open bidding system where it's an open bidding system without the panel. I mean, I'm at the mercy of that. Now, again, your AMC is your buffer between a bad or good appraiser. So you need to work the AMC, not work the appraiser. You just got to make sure your client, if it's going to be a property that you're renovating to then stabilize, you need to justify the work completed on the property. You can't just throw a coat of paint up and say, hey, my property appreciated $100,000. That's just not going to happen. That doesn't even happen on those make-believe shows that are out there on HGTV. Okay? You need to have detail. You need to have records. You need to show before and after pictures. You got to show warranties. You got to be detailed where the appraiser is not going to have a choice but giving you the value that justifies in the market. They're also giving you a rental market value as well in the investor space. So you'll know what your market rent is based on the value of the property as well. So those two numbers are very important to a lender, more so now than 10 years ago. The rental market didn't make a lot of difference, but because we're such a debt service coverage ratio oriented environment as a real estate professional now, we need to know what that rental value is. And it's funny, I saw a really interesting article out there how the non-banks are kicking the living daylights out of the regular banks for investor lending right now. It's not even close. Like the local banks are getting crushed by the DSCR, direct private lenders, the hedge funds that are putting money out for the investors right now. It's gone like 70-30 overnight. And where it was once where everybody used to go to the banks and the private lenders were just kind of coming up the ranks. It's a very volatile market. I'm very concerned about it, where the banks are going to go with on the lending landscape in the commercial environment, because they're going to get stuck with the mixed use opportunities, the smaller deals. They're going to get stuck with office retail. They're still licking their wounds there. They'll be licking their wounds for the next several years. You have some massive resets coming up over the next 24 to 36 months. I just don't know how some of these banks are going to be sustaining themselves to be in the investment lending space. A lot of them already are out of the residential space in lending. They're leaving it to the broker bankers of the world to do home ownership buying. I really don't know how this is all going to go if the non-bank environment, such as myself, takes more of a market share from them in a lot of these markets throughout the country. And that's going to impact also values. As we start converting a lot of these office retail properties into multifamily, eat, work, and live type of environments, how does that impact the value of a single family home down the block? How does that impact the rental market value? Do all these small single family landlords turn into Section 8 housing type of affordability type of opportunities, and the Class A rentals stick with the bigger multifamily conversions and apartment livings that are being built at malls? Like where does the separation of wealth and poor live? Like how does that all look? And how will the appraisals look at that as well? Long term, like migration numbers are showing that everybody's moving to the Midwest. What happens to the Northeast and the West Coast? Like what happens to the values there if everybody's moving to the middle? So it's very interesting to see how this all shakes out over the next decade. Thankfully, hopefully, I'll be in this market for the next decade at least. So I'll be watching this wave as it crests and hits the beaches of many areas. Melissa, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning, demystifying the appraisal process.
Thank you, Joe, for having me up. Good morning, Clubhouse. I'm Melissa King, owner-operator of One Last Eye LLC, Virtual Assistant Services, also a licensed real estate referral agent and notary public here in the state of Michigan, and an international certified administrative professional. My virtual assistant provides realty bookkeeping and admin office help. As for today, oh man, this is good stuff. One of the nuggets here I already have down is the AMC. I did not know about that. I recently sold my home and got an appraiser from my local group. He only went a quarter mile out. I was not happy with what he did. One thing I want to mention, I'm not sure also if people don't know about it, is the BS&A online software. You can utilize this software. It's heavy in Michigan. I don't believe it's national yet, but you can look up pretty much any property in Michigan right down to the township level to get information on this. I use it all the time in my own due diligence. I used to do environmental site assessments for a firm. So due diligence is right up my alley. I mean, I was going into libraries and doing city directory searches, Joe. So that's how far I go back. I think you can get that online now, which is fabulous. And I would, if you're not real good at record keeping, but okay at Excel, give that a shot when you're making your improvements to your properties. I mean, that's super easy. If you're not very good at paperwork, just hop on Excel. Anytime you buy something, you've got that receipt right there, stick it in. It only takes a few minutes, save it, put it in your envelope next to your desk and forget about it until the next, when you go back to the project. That's a couple of nuggets I have for you today, Joe. Thanks.
Melissa, thank you. And stay on mic if you don't mind. So you were a little peeved about them going out an eighth of a mile. Now, are you in a neighborhood? Is there a specific zip code that you reside in? Can you give me a little more detail? Because, you know, again, I'm not trying to, I don't want to beat up appraisers here today. What I'm saying here, I'm here to educate and hopefully enhance the mindset of working with an appraiser and for the betterment of value to your investment environment. So I just want to make sure we're not bashing and throwing appraisers into the fire pit. We're just trying to, what can we do better, and what did we not do? You know what I mean? Is the question of the day as investors.
Right. I'm one of those people that I had a list of all the improvements we've done to the home. I mean, since we bought the house, I'm one of those weird people. So this particular gentleman came into the house. He didn't seem real interested in anything that was done in the past 10 years. And I just had a lender refinance a year ago, and it was 40 grand more than what his appraisal came in for. So I'm like, okay, well, my lender's willing to give me up to this amount, and you're 40 grand lower. Right off the bat, I didn't like that. The neighborhood is near an elementary school that is just, we just had another one built here in Rockford, Michigan. This is actually where Ginger Z is from, if anybody watches the ABC news and weather channel, okay? So it's a highly sought after area, number one. And up this cul-de-sac near the downtown, which has a lot going on, walkability, bikeability. We got a national, or I think it's White Pine Trail, it might be a state trail nearby. I mean, there's so much to do here. And one of the properties nearby within a quarter mile, I wish you would have gone out maybe another mile or two, because that's what my real estate agent did. So one of the that he, it might have, one of the places he did, we call a zero lot line here. And it's kind of like a duplex, but not really.
Mhm.
And I felt they didn't have a big yard like we do. We had other things. They may have had that second full bathroom. We only had one full bathroom here, 2 half baths, and we totally redid the upper floor in the last 5-6 years. So those were definite things I felt that he didn't take into account.
So I can, you know, I'm just gonna pick apart what you had to say. So
Please do.
appraiser's going to look at the renovations or repairs or enhancements in the last 24 to 36 months. They're not going to go back 5 years or 10 years.
You have to learn that.
Yeah. Two, they have to stay in within a certain proximity of your property based on whether it's a township, community. If they have to go out further, they have to justify that there's just not enough comps. But if they had enough comps in the immediate eighth of a mile, then they could justify why they did that. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. So I think maybe your realtor kind of expanded the circle maybe too much to justify maybe a value to make you, you know, to come up with something. But then also at the same time, you have the right to order a new appraisal. You have a right to order a new appraisal. It's just going to cost you money. But if you're not happy or satisfied, even after you've provided documentation to the AMC to protect you from the appraiser whether good or bad, you're allowed to order a whole new appraisal. Now, you could also, if you submitted all those comps from, expanded past the eighth of a mile and it didn't work, and you showed all the renovations you've done over the past decade, not the last 24 to 36 months, that didn't work. The last resort is, well, there's a couple things. One, your house is valued the way it is because they're only using an eighth of a mile. But if you get a second appraiser to come in and they do the same thing, then you know where you stand. Okay? You're not gonna, no appraiser is gonna sign the bottom line and commit fraud in this day and time. It's too easy to lose your licenses today on anything. It's too easy to get caught in bad situations where you're blacklisted as a bad appraiser. So you can get blacklisted off of AMCs if you don't do things correctly or they're questionable. Like I know of, like Ed introduced me to somebody not too long ago, and the individual that this guy kept on pressing me to try to get appraisals ordered through is blacklisted. I'm like, I mean, come on, like really? Like I can't use the guy because the guy's a dope because he's giving you he's giving you bad values, and you're trying to get me to jump on board with you to do all this. I said, listen, I have no problem firing people in my world. I don't need to work with you. I'm a sales guy. I'm a service guy. If I don't feel like I'm comfortable with you, I can cut you loose. And sometimes you got to cut bait in trying to beat up a situation or circumstance. Don't point fingers. Just order a new appraisal. And guess what? If it comes back the same way, guess what? Your value is what it is. I mean, I hate to pull the band-aids off so hard, Melissa, but I think you kind of get that from my personality anyway.
No, that's what I love about your personality. No BS. I didn't know about the AMC. I mean, that is an absolute nugget, and I will utilize that again moving forward. I think what helped us in this area, because we did end up selling to that goes back to your Midwest migration point, to a nice young couple from Los Angeles. And they will be living here in this home and raising their new baby. So we're excited about that. And we actually only, from our list price, we had to come down a little bit. Once we did that, it put us right in the sweet spot for these kids to buy the house. Oh, excuse me, young couple to buy this house. And it all worked out both ways. So we're quite happy.
So again, we're trying to help you understand. Thank you, Melissa, and understand what you need to do to justify value. Right? You got to look at the last 36 months of what you've done to the property. You got to have warranties on any of the enhancements done. You need to document the renovations or enhancements done. You need to keep monitoring your immediate market within a quarter to an eighth of a mile. Are there relevant properties sold and settled in your market that justify the value that you're looking for? Is the timing of the market working for you as well? Now, we really had a very lackluster spring market nationally. What do we do when there's just no sold and settled? You just can't make up a number. Now, can the bidding system, the bidding environment work in your favor either way if there's a lack of inventory? Yes. But what if there's a flooding of inventory? What if there's too many properties on the market and there's too many choices? What is going to separate you and your property to value out at when the appraisal process comes, or when you're looking to refinance the property and you're looking to justify refinancing the current debt that you created on the property to renovate and hold? Will it hold its muster, or will you have to look and leave money into the deal? I know we've all been trained to do the BRRRR where you get all your money back plus 20%. That's not going to keep happening. It can't. You can't keep doing that because there's only so much money to take out. If there's no meat on the bone and you're just eating bone, well, you better cut that bone because the only thing you have is marrow. Okay? So, and Marrow's not bad, by the way, but you know, you can only go back to the farm so many times to grab, you know, the produce in a sense. So you really need to figure out, you know, is the cash flow going to work? Okay. Is the cash flow going to work? And are you going to be able to, yeah, you there?
Yeah. Hey, can I just, I want
Sure.
to clarify something about what you were talking about,
Yeah.
ordering a new appraisal. Like when in Melissa's circumstance, and I think in
Yeah, that was a sale.
we're talking about where we had issues with the appraisals, we're not the ones ordering, right?
Yeah.
We're the ones selling.
Correct. That's the problem there.
Yeah, so we can't be the ones ordering a new appraisal. We have no control over that.
I agree with you. I
also
missed that. That was my miss.
Yeah, and also in that scenario, it's supposed to be the buyer that's initiating these discussions with their lender. Like,
Mhm.
you know, even though I try as the listing broker to get the lender to listen to me and try to get them to dispute the appraisal, it falls to the buyer to even do that. So, you know, in a case like Melissa, where hey, the buyer's excited, right? Because now I'm paying less for the house because the appraisal came in less, or I should be paying less for the house. They're not really incentivized to ask for a new appraisal, right?
Correct.
But yeah, but in the BRRRR, like what we're supposed to be talking about, which I think we've all kind of deviated a little bit. Yeah, we're the ones ordering the appraisal where we could be the ones saying, okay, go do it again. And anyway, and the other thing I want to point out is what you keep talking about as far as the rental comps. You know, that what I'm seeing is that people are wanting to buy investment property, but I don't know who they're listening to or where they're getting their rental comps from, but I'm seeing, you know, things where people think the rental comps are $300 to $500 more a month than they really are. So you really need to be paying attention to what are the real rents in the area, because that is the key to you getting out of the property is how much is it going to rent for?
Well, I'm gonna, there's a lot of bad websites out there that are justifying bad direction. Like, you know, everybody can give an opinion, right? And you know what opinions are like. So, and also there's really bad, there's sometimes bad licensed professionals out there giving some bad advice or strategy. You just need to dig deep, and there's enough software out there where you can identify numbers that make sense for you. And I'm sorry, in a very inflationary market, why would you be so zealous in your numbers? Like, I would rather be conservative and then be happily surprised that everything comes back. So if somebody told me the property was worth between 250 to 300, it's worth 250. If it comes in anything better than 250, you're ahead of the game. Does the property work at 250 if you owe 150? And does the rental market make sense if the rent is, I don't know, I'm just using a number, 2,000, and it comes back at 2,200? Does that work for you? Why would you go crazy and over exaggerate things? I think, you know, in the lending space, I ask very basic questions because we base everything on experience when it comes to rehab, fix to rent, fix to flip, and credit score, you know, and then the deal. So I ask very basic questions. How many flips have you completed in the last 48 months? It's a number. It's not a kind of number. It's a number. It's not 5 to 10. It's not 1 to 2. It's a number. Whatever it is, that's the number. I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. I just need to know. And then the next question is, how many rehabs have you completed for rental in the last 48 months? And then how many rentals have you acquired in the last 48 months? How many new construction projects have you completed for flip in the last 48 months? How many new construction projects you've completed for rental in the last 48 months? How many projects that you've completed third party as a GC for investors in the last 48 months? That takes sometimes 15 minutes to get those answers from somebody. Because when people want to exaggerate, and not tell the truth. The truth will set you free, believe me. Because when we verify, the truth comes out. So why would you want to over exaggerate something and then blame everybody but yourself? It kind of scares me where this is all going with let's blame the appraiser. Maybe you should blame yourself that you didn't do the right renovations or didn't get the right advice from a licensed real estate agent or talk to an appraiser. Have you ever taken a lunch? I have lunch with an appraiser that's up in the South Jersey, Philadelphia market. We grab lunch once a quarter. He's a colleague of mine. And we talk about the market and the trends. Okay. I go on to blogs on Facebook and it's an appraisal Facebook group, and I read information and I have conversations with appraisers throughout the country. Why aren't you doing that? What's so scary about an appraiser? I don't understand. You could pay an appraiser just to come out, just to walk around your property. You could learn something. You're paying them. They're gonna give you their time. You know, appraisers are for hire independently outside the AMC. They love making money outside the AMC because they got to give up so much money to the AMC. So when you pay them directly to come out, they're all ears. They're now your hired service. What's wrong with that? What's wrong? What's wrong with hiring a home inspector when you're doing a renovation on a property to check on the general contractor with their bid initially going into the deal? And when the general contractor is finishing the work and they want their last draw, why are you insulting anybody by sending the home inspector out again on your behalf? They're there to protect you. So don't be afraid of an appraiser. Welcome them, hire them. Robert, good morning and welcome. Welcome. Brief overview of who you are, what you do, and thoughts to demystifying the appraisal process.
Morning, everyone. Robert Hoke, Asheville, North Carolina, real estate agent, and also new construction, building, all for rental leverage. I've had, appraisal. I guess last May, Joe refinancing out of a interest only, and the bank guy sent a appraisal over there. He took, like he's in a rush. Last time I talked to him on the phone, and we took some pictures, just a few of them from the house. I know what their houses were, and then his comps was some old. Mine was a 2021 new construction, and he took some comps from 1980, 90-ish homes, and it was low, and it wasn't there for me to qualify for the refinance, and I end up sending them, then they send me back, you're not qualified, blah blah blah, and I end up let them know that Oklahoma's worth. I've seen 3 houses sell, or in the neighborhood, which the ones he didn't even use for cops, and to let him know that I was an agent, and then he's he reverted back and talked to his higher ups, and I sent him comps, and then he ended up doing another appraisal a couple weeks later, and the appraiser actually called me, and he said he didn't say what he's gonna do, but he ended up saying, I remember when you was building this house, and then the second appraisal came back at the number that we was expecting. So and if I wouldn't have been experienced, or just having that somewhat backbone, saying that this ain't know my house is worth, that I'm sad to say, it's maybe people out there that in that area that has had that experience and didn't get to challenge it. So it's good to find out the education of what's been talked about.
So Robert, was this the project that we funded?
No, it's the one that I'm in now.
Okay.
But the one funded is perfect. This is the one the white one I was in. The second one I'm in now that I refinance out of interest only, and and he just came back low about over a year ago, back
Mhm.
last May.
Yeah.
But no, we're in the mix of that with delay on permits, but they coming. But everything as far as grading is ready to go.
Yeah, the numbers they were. I think your numbers were really good on that project actually. So I think that appraisal that was done. I mean, it's older, but it's something to go by when you're ready to refinance the property as well. I mean, so I mean, location, size, age, condition, upgrades and renovations, comparable sales, market trends. Like as Robert's saying, he went back and just said, "Listen, here's some documented, misses." Now, if you have to request for a copy of the appraisal when they say, "Hey, it came back a little light," you can request for that because you need to see what values they used, what sales did they use, did they miss one that you know of? If there was one pending during the appraisal that was done that just closed and it changes your value, you might want to send that into the AMC. So getting a copy of the appraisal is going to be important to understand what comps did they use and what comps they did not use. You need to understand the process. And a lender should be able to explain this to you, what that looks like. There's options out there. It's just not a one-trick pony. Travis, do you have any final thoughts to our discussion this morning, demystifying the appraisal process?
Yeah, I really like this discussion. I can appreciate everybody that has shared. One thing it made me start thinking about when you're talking about making that list of all the improvements. I think something else that would definitely help is to go walk your competition, right? So maybe you're in the middle of your renovation and there's homes on the market that when they close, they're going to be used as comps for your property. Go to those properties, walk them, take notes about what they did, right? Because that appraiser, he's not going to be able to get into those properties after they close. They're just looking at closed comps. So they've never been inside. So go in there, take photos, take notes. You can make your own list of what they did and say, look, here's what they did and here's what we did. So you can't say we're valued at the same thing, right? If we did so much more than them, you have to give us more value. That's one of the thoughts I've got on this, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Yeah, and my final thoughts to this is you need to be aware of what's going on at all times. The minute you order that appraisal, the process starts. You need to understand what is going on around you, what is being sold, like Travis said, why haven't you walked through some of the properties that are listed today that could go under contract? Maybe it's all timing too. If you have some properties already on the market and they're having open houses, you might want to wait and see what those values close out at to justify your new sale price. That could be something where you're already seeing the trees in the forest. Now, from a Burr perspective, you need to understand what's been purchased, what's been renovated, what's been listed from a rental perspective. You got to look at the timing of things. It's extremely important to understand the timing of your refi as well from a Burr strategy. So I think we really got to a good place with this discussion this morning. We tackled something that we don't typically tackle. We're going to keep tackling subjects here. We are scheduled now into August with subject matter, so you could follow us and see what subject matters we got coming up. We have all the discussions here loaded into our website at creativeburrstrategies.com. You could also go to perkatech.com. You can go to realty411.com. You could go to Lenmark.com. You could go to josephscarice.com. That's your power team here at the Creative Birth Strategies House and podcast, and mbcapital.com as well. I'm sorry, I missed out on them as well. We're here to provide full service strategy, sponsorship, and education. We provide CE courses nationally throughout the country on asset-based lending and soon on wholesaling real estate. We offer real estate tools to underwrite your deals. We're here every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. and every Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. with education, networking, and strategy. And then also, we are rolling out Creative Birth Strategy hats and shirts and coffee mugs very soon. So you'll get to see me in one of the new shirts and hats and having coffee with a coffee mug. We're going to put those online eventually for people to be given away and or purchase. But we're taking it to the next level. We're going to be starting some marketing as well. Yordell has put together some great marketing tools, and anybody would love to be interviewed on our podcast. We could do it via Zoom. You don't got to come to Philadelphia to meet us, but if you'd like to enhance your business and come up with, like, say, 10 questions for me to ask and interview you with, we'll edit it, we'll put it together, we'll get it up there and post it on your behalf. We're here to also enhance your business and become your business partner in, your successes. My quote this morning is, set a goal so big that you can't achieve it until you grow into a person who can. Everybody have a beautiful Saturday morning. I'll be back here tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. with another great subject, and I'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds. Thank you.